Hello and welcome to the Adventurous Art Room. My name is Miss Ianson and I teach K-12 art at Waterville School District. I'm really excited to be working with the Rocky Reach Dam and the River Pal project to create some cool pieces of artwork with you guys today. Let's get started. So to create our Collagraph of our Sockeye salmon, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need a cereal box, glue and scissors, wax crayons, a paintbrush, washable markers, and a fruit or veg netted bag, something that you might have onions in or oranges. Guys, we need to discuss our key word of the day, collagraph. Let's say the word out loud to try and get used to saying it. Let's say collagraph to our toes. Now let's say collagraph to the ceiling. And now let's say collagraph over our shoulder. Good job, guys. Let's discuss what the word actually means. A collagraph print is made from a surface that is collaged with different textures. Collage your fish with the texture by gluing on cardboard shapes, creating something called a relief. When we look at the word collagraph, you can see that it's made up of several different words. Collar, meaning collage, and graph, meaning we put it onto a surface. However, we are going to be sticking our cardboard onto our different parts of our fish to create a relief. That relief, we should be able to feel the texture coming through. That means that when we go to print our work, we should see the fish come through our print. It's pretty tricky, but you'll get to grips with it. Let's get started. Alright, so now I have two pieces of cardboard from my cereal box that are roughly the same size, which is going to be great for me to work on. So I've kept all my other little pieces too, just in case I need those. So one cereal box should be enough per person's work. So I'm going to put this one to the side and we'll get started in drawing our salmon. Alrighty, so the aim is we're going to use this piece of cardboard to draw our salmon on, and this is what we're going to use to create our collagraph. A collagraph is when it raises up on the surface so you can feel it. I'll explain a little bit more in a minute. First thing is though, we want to draw our salmon, and we want to make our salmon look like it's moving kind of through the water. It's got a bit of movement to it, which is another principle of art, movement. So what we're going to do is first, and I'm going to put this right here so we can use it as our reference point. We are going to draw the outline of our salmon on this piece of paper, but we're going to draw it like it's almost sat down, which is kind of weird because that means we have more room on our cardboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain how to draw it. I'm going to use a Sharpie, I think. So let me just test this out and see if you can. Oh, you can see that, all right. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw the basic shape and we're going to copy this onto here the best we can. So first things first is we're going to draw this line coming down around the outside of our salmon. So we're going to go like this. You know what, I'm going to change to Sharpie. I think it'd be better than that way you can definitely see. You guys use pencil though, it'll make it nice and easy. So we're going to draw the first part of our fish coming down here, like this, and that's that portion right there. We're going to continue it on a slight angle towards the edge of the cardboard, like that. Just going to move that up a little bit so it's at the same height as that one. Then what we're going to do is we are going to come around here, and that's creating the fin, and I'll even add that line in right there to make it look more obvious. So there's my fin. Then we're going to come around here towards the tail. Keep it going. Start coming back around again. Perfect. We're going to add this portion of the tail in a second. We're going to keep going to create that body shape. That looks about right. Now we're going to start coming back around to make the fish's face. So we're going to come up. Let me check the size of that one. Up like this. And that's where our face was going to be. Come down. Bring this one to it. Like so. It looks like a really odd fish right now because he's missing his tail. We're going to add his tail in. We want that to come up and down. And it wants to be slightly longer than here. about there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring that tail back up to his body. Like that. Perfect. Now we can start adding in those details. So right here we should have one of his fins coming off. His next fin. I'm just creating like a little triangle right there. There we go. And then he should have another fin right here too. And that comes off the side. Perfect. Then we're going to keep coming up towards his pectoral fins. And he's got this one right here. Perfect. And then he's got another one that comes off here. And again, it's such an odd way to draw this salmon, but that's okay. And then last but not least, we need to add his eyes, which is about here. And then he's going to have his gills. And remember, the pectoral fin's just behind the gill. And we're kind of creating a U shape. And back again. Oops. There we go. Now, then we want to add in his really defined mouth. So I'm adding a second layer to the lip. Like so. And then bring this down to about there. Perfect. My salmon looks a little bit, he looks a little bit wider right here. So what I might do is actually bring it down here like that and make, there we go. Because this is going to be able to be changed, so that's pretty good. I'm actually pretty pleased with that one. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to cut out our salmon, and we can actually turn our salmon so that he's the normal way around now. It looks a little bit less scary. What we're going to do is we're going to cut this salmon out using our scissors. So we want to go all the way around the outside. And again, this is going to take a little bit of time, so pause the video if you need to. And once I've cut this out, I will be right with you. As you're cutting out, we want to keep the rest of the cardboard, so make sure you don't cut the scrap cardboard. Make sure you keep that. So once you free your salmon, then that way just put this to one side so we can use it in a minute. And continue to cut out around the outside of our sockeye salmon. And like I said, I used Sharpie so that you guys could see it. If you use pencil, that's absolutely fine. Keep that piece too. Keep this piece. Perfect. There's that one. Using my helping hand. All the way around. Oh, that's tricky. And then last bit right here. Free all his flippers. Sorry, his fins. There we go. Perfect. Alright. Oh, I forgot his mouth. Here is our sockeye salmon's mouth. Alrighty, so the next step, once you cut this guy completely out, perfect. I'm going to put this one to one side. What we want to do is grab that big scrap piece of cardboard that we kept. And the reason why we kept it is so that we can trace around this guy once more on that spare piece. He should just fit. That's the reason why we were drawing it at a funny angle. He should just fit right here perfectly. If he doesn't, that's okay. We can find another piece of scrap cardboard to use, like for example a pasta box or something like that. Once you have done that, trace around your sockeye salmon so that you have a complete drawing for you to be able to cut out a second time. All the way around, perfect. He's like, oh my god, it tickles. Okay, perfect. Now what I want you to do is cut out your second one, and I'll see you in a second. Alright guys, so now we have two of the exact same shaped salmon. The only difference is that on one of them you shouldn't have all those details that you drew. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually be cutting out pieces from this salmon and sticking them onto this one to create that feeling of 3D, or to make it feel like you can feel the texture of the salmon itself. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to start cutting out different areas. So for example, we're going to cut out this fin to stick on top of here. When we cut this fin off, he's like, oh my god, that's it, his fin has gone. If we were just to stick the fin straight onto the other salmon, it wouldn't have an edge that, can you see, we want it to, let me actually zoom in right here with the technique. We want there to be a step going from one piece of cardboard to the other. We don't want them to be in line. That means we actually want to make our shape just a tiny little bit smaller than where it should go. So I'm actually going to trim my fin and make it a little bit smaller, so that when I stick it on, there is that step down onto that second layer of cardboard. So there we go. That would be much better fit. It just steps down onto that cardboard perfectly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this guy down with some clear glue, or some white glue that turns clear. We only want to put a tiny amount of glue onto the back of our cardboard around the outside of that shape, because once we press it down, it will probably bleed out the sides. If you feel like you've got too much glue, get one of those scrap pieces of cardboard like this one, and you could even just move this around your piece of card. If you're using a glue stick, that should work just fine as well. So we're going to stick this guy down, his fin. This one is his dorsal fin. Let's get him stuck down. And then hold it and count to 10. Make sure you've pressed it firmly. Make sure you've still got that step. And the glue, after a few minutes, will be able to stick. And this will dry clear too, which will be really helpful. Alright, next thing, we are going to work on adding some of the fins. So I'm going to go and grab his pectoral fin. And I've actually drawn the pectoral fin as if it's coming onto the gill. So I'm actually going to just trim that a little bit differently. I'm going to trim around his gill. Oh my gosh, I'm literally, oh gosh, I'm chopping his head off. That's okay. We're sticking him back together soon. It's like a game of Operation. Alright, I'm gonna trim this gill away. There we go. And I want to stick this gill straight onto here. If you're not sure about where it should go, you can actually grab the other body and hold it there like a bit of a puzzle and line it up into the right spot. I'm going to put his gill right there. I'm going to take my glue. It seems really strange. We're cutting our sockeye salmon into pieces to then stick him back down and make him even better. So let's have a look. Alrighty. My gill has a lot of glue on there perfectly, and I lined it up so it fitted against his fin. Any excess glue, just wipe it away, and it will dry clear if you're using the white glue. Let me just check that that lined up pretty well to where I wanted it. Oops. Almost there. There we go. Perfect. Alrighty, next let's work on getting his fin done. We talked about his fin. His face is up there. We're going to get his little pectoral fin right here. And we're just going to trim around that part. There we go. So when we make our collagraph, if I can say the word, collagraph, we want it so that, and he's going to go right there, look like that. We want it so that it has as much detail as possible. So we're trying to add these fins, we're trying to add the gills, so that when we create our collagraph, you can feel all these details. So I'm going to add this little fin in here. So remember, the pectoral fin is just behind the gill. So that's going to go right there, behind his gill. And then this one is his other pectoral fin coming out of the side of the body. So we're going to add some detail to this one too. So you can see there's the pectoral fin. I'm going to trim that off, like so. Now if I was to stick this one down straight away, we're just going to stick it over the top. We're not going to have that step up like what we talked about on this fin. So we're going to do the same again with this pectoral fin. We're going to trim it down a little bit. Make it a little bit smaller so that it definitely fits with that step effect that we were talking about. Just watch our fingers. Perfect. Pretty happy with that one. Okay, yep, perfect. It's going to go right there. Let me get some glue ready for that second pectoral fin. Okay, perfect. Alright, next up I'm going to do his lips. And I should be able to do that in pretty much one go, both bottom and top lip. And remember, we're wanting to make them a little bit smaller than the original, so I'm trimming them down a little bit to give that step effect again. Perfect. And I'm going to put them both on at the same time with these ones, so they're going to go straight there. Remember, you can always pause the video. Just putting my glue on my lips right now. Alrighty, let's get that done. And then what else are we missing? Oh yeah, his eye. We definitely need to get his eye on there. Now if you feel like it's not sticking, just hold it down for a little bit longer. I usually like to count to 10, but I'm not going to do that this time because you would hear me count to 10 several times. So we're just going to make sure that you're doing it. Okay, next we have his eye. So we're just going to trim around his eye on his spare piece. Perfect. Let's take his eye out. That sounds a bit strange. Taking his eye out. Alright, let's get this guy stuck on to make him look a little bit more awake. Alrighty. Now his eye wants to go just above the corner of the mouth. So I'm going to pop it right here. And you're probably thinking, why is she doing all this? We had it perfectly on the other one. Remember, the Collagraph is all about being able to feel the detail, which is why we're adding these details in. We want to be able to feel it with our fingertips. Okay, next up we have these three last fins, and we have his tail. So I'm going to grab his tail. I'm trimming around that curve. Now, we could just put his tail straight on here and make it a little bit smaller like we did with this one right here. However, I want to add a little bit more of a detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be cutting his tail a little bit smaller first. So I'm making it a little bit smaller. Okay, so now my fin is a little bit smaller, which is exactly what I want. You get that step effect. However, I want to add some stripe details in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut his fin into 4 different pieces. So I'm going to cut right here. I'm going to stick that one down now. You might even want to make it a little bit smaller than its original size. Get some glue. And this one's stuck down. Perfect. I'm sticking down, there it is, that part of his tail fin. Oops. And then what we want to do is, where did it go? Oh, it's right here. We want to grab some more of his tail. There's that next piece. And I'm sticking it down as I cut it so that I make sure it stays in the correct position. Last little bit. Perfect. And then we have those last 2 pieces that we are going to stick down right there. Oops. I'm going to get some glue on those. Stick that one down. Oops. It's getting stuck to my fingers. Push it down firmly. And then the last tail fin or power fin I should say, not tail fin. Let's get this guy stuck down. Oh, perfect. Okay, that means now, and what I'll do is I'll zoom in as I say again. You can see that the tail fin, or the power fin even, has that kind of more detailed element right there. It has those gaps in between. It has those little steps in between each piece, which means that I can now feel all that detail with my fingertip. I need to do these last 3 fins right here, and then I'll see you in a second. Okay, so my Sockeye salmon has had the opportunity to dry for a little while, and now what I'm going to do is recreate our Collagraph print effect. Normally with Collagraph you would add a layer of ink and we would print it in that fashion, but today we're going to be using wax crayons to create a Collagraph rubbing. When we create a Collagraph rubbing, we use a wax crayon on its side as if it's asleep, and we basically create our texture through our crayon meeting with that contact of that surface that you can feel with your fingertip. So I'm going to get myself a dark colored wax crayon, maybe a green or a black or a blue, something like that, and I'm going to take my piece of paper and lay it on top of your fish, like so. Then what we want to do is grab hold of the crayon, the wax crayon, put it on its side as if it's asleep, and what we're going to do is literally kind of feel for where the fish is and start creating our Collagraph printing concept. Let me see. Oh, brilliant, look at that. Okay, you can start to see the shape of my salmon. Now I know that his fin is up here somewhere. Where is it? There it is. And I can start kind of tracing the shape of the salmon with my crayon. Working the way down. I know it's there somewhere, the edge. There it is. Oh my god, it's so much fun. Look at the details that come out from all that work I did with the cardboard. There we go. I know that there's a little bit more of his tail over this way somewhere. There it is. Okay, I'm trying to keep my helping hand nice and still to hold the paper. And you can start to see his tail. Oops. And you can see all those kind of cool details that I made by cutting his tail into those sections. And then if you have any pieces missing and you think, oh, I know there's a fin there, try and find it. Create your rubbing on top. This is awesome. Look at him. Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, there's the detail of his mouth coming through in his eye. Brilliant. All right, I think I'm almost there. Perfect. Great. Okay, that's our first step. Let's move on to adding some texture. Now that the print's made, move the cardboard out and grab hold of the onion bag or the orange bag I mentioned earlier on. Now you only need a small piece of this or a textured paper or fabric, so you could even use like a doily or something like that at home, or a placemat, whatever you think is kind of rough in texture, but these are pretty good for the fish scales like we were talking about on our salmon. So you're going to want to put this underneath the salmon and line up it so that it's on its body, so it's right there. And then that's when we want to grab hold of that red wax crayon right here, lay it on its side just like before, and again we're going to do that textured rubbing, and you'll start to see the onion bag coming through, the texture of the onion bag, which is pretty cool. Now if you're like me, I've only used a small piece. I'm going to have to move it so that each time I want to do a new section, it's going to be underneath that bag. I'm sorry, on top of that bag. There we go, around his lower part of his tail. You can really see that texture coming through. It looks so cool. And then I just need to do that last little bit near his head, his back right here. Let's put it up here near his head. Perfect. Oh, there we go. Alrighty. Okay, I like it. Now let me hold it up here so you guys can see. Can you see that amazing texture that was created by the onions bag? So cool. Alright, now what I want to do is add a few more hints of color. So for example, I'm going to give his face a hint of green. You could use a different texture. I'm just actually going to color it in with my wax crayon right now. To kind of give my Sockeye a little bit more of a natural color. You might want to add some details like the same thing to his fins anything you really feel like it might help, add that there. Let's see. Oh gosh, I just realized I didn't get the bubbles when I collagraphed, so let me grab those real quick. How did I forget the bubbles? Just line him up. Feel those bubbles, there they are. Nearly forgot them. There we go. Oops. There we go. There's his bubbles in. Perfect. Alright, for his bubbles, the reason why I forgot, I was like, oh, I want to put some blue in his bubbles. And his bubbles weren't even there. There's some blue in his bubbles. Okay, so the last steps, you can leave it as this. It looks amazing if you want to leave it. However, I'm going to add some color into the background using kind of like a wax resist technique. So what I do is I actually get water-soluble markers or washable markers, and they are going to act as if they are a watercolor once I add some water to them. So I'm going to actually go around the outside edge of my Sockeye Salmon with this bright, vibrant blue. It doesn't have to be too neat. I go inside the mouth right there. Perfect. And I'm also going to go right around the edge of my paper. Right on the top. Cool. Alright, I actually kind of like that. You could add maybe more than one color blue. I'll show you how this comes out on mine. I actually might add a little bit of this purple to the outside edge to give that frame a second color. It's really up to you how you do this. Have a look at mine and see what you guys think. Alrighty, then what you want to do is grab yourself a brush and some water. Make sure it's nice and clean. Make sure that brush has nothing else on it. Wipe it on that lip, and then let's start adding that water to that marker. Because it's a washable marker, you're going to get that ink is starting to bleed into that water, and it creates this amazing kind of like watercolor effect all the way around the edge of my salmon. You guys can be as neat as you would like. You might want to experiment a little bit. You might want to add some more colors. You might want to draw some seaweed. Whatever it is that makes you guys happy when it comes to creating your unique Collagraph wax resist. Let's have a look. Oh, that's so cool. I love it. Alright, let's get that. I think we're almost there. Alright, we're going to give this guy a chance to dry, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so while we wait for this one to dry, what you could do is you could actually turn this into a piece of artwork itself. So you could add some color to it, you might decide to paint it, whatever you want to do. I actually did one earlier on that had waxed crayon, so you can see that I use the same red design, and then I used some green, and then I outlined the guy in black to make it look like he was kind of coming up from the depths of the water. So while that one was there, this guy had a chance to dry, and now I have two amazing pieces of salmon artwork. See you all soon. Bye guys.